Hey, overthinkers, it's Sweets and Lisa here.
Hi, everybody.
Um, so here we are again, ready to unpack and overthink with you like usual on this beautiful rainy-ish summer day. So, Lisa, how you doing?
I'm good. You know what? Summer is a weird time. It's
Yeah.
just every schedules are weird. Everyone's kind of everywhere. There's holidays thrown in. It just feels. I feel a
That's
little bit out of sorts.
it.
Summer's a nice break,
Yes.
but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel normal, if
No,
that
it's
makes
like
sense.
there's a little something different each day, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'll take
yeah.
it.
So if you're into routines,
Yeah,
like I am a little bit, summer's a hard season. So I don't
we're
know if
throwing
anyone
you
else
off
out
a
there.
bit. But this
Yeah.
is part of your routine. And so here
Yes,
we
it is.
are. I have a word for you today that I've
All
been
right, I'm
thinking a
ready.
lot about. So my word for you is success. And just the nodding. No one can hear the silent nod. Um, I recently went to Maine and it was such a beautiful trip. I actually went with someone we both know, Tracy, and we stayed with one of her friends, Shannon. And it was like I felt so taken care of because Shannon knew the area, obviously, because she lived there. But we like hiked a bit, we had picnics by the water and all of those things. And granted, I know that's vacation, but we were just thinking about like we were talking about our jobs and what success really means and like, the compass of your life. And I'm curious, when you think about that word, what comes up for you?
I love when you said the compass of my life. That
Mm,
stopped me in my tracks a bit. I
yeah.
don't know that I think about my life as a compass, but it's an interesting metaphor to think about. When I think of success, what comes up for me? I think a few things. Probably first is my job as a parent. When I think about success in life, I think, the choice that I made to have children was
Mhm.
an important one. And success for me in this life would feel like them being launched into the conditions in which they can be happy. And I think like I've talked about this a lot in my own district, in my life with my kids. You know, I think I have the influence and ability to create conditions. As a parent or as a leader, I can create conditions for health and safety and
Yeah.
conditions for happiness, but obviously I can't make that choice for anyone to be happy in their circumstances. So for me, it's like, have I created the conditions
Yeah.
in which people have the ability to be healthy and safe and happy should they like those circumstances? And so I guess that's how I feel about success in my job too. Like I want to create the conditions for health and safety and achieving of our goals, but I can't be the one that actually does all that work, which is feels a little bit, that's the hard part, right?
That's it. People still have to do their own work. I really like what you're saying, especially, and I really love that you actually started with your kids, the parenting piece, because I was just thinking about like how much stress maybe our younger generations have. There's so much online about comparison and like what success should actually look like. And I just remember growing up and we didn't have any of that, right? And like success was really at the end of the day coming home and having like we had dinner as a family and watched some TV and whatnot. And I'm just wondering, I love this idea of what you say, creating conditions. I'm just wondering if we're creating our conditions, we're practicing life where life has to, we're disappointed if life doesn't feel spectacular at
Yeah.
every moment because we don't think success is that, is just
Yeah.
coming home and sometimes sitting on your couch and that being the like not actually saying, putting it on a scale that's saying, was this what a successful person would be doing or a non-successful person versus just being a person,
Yeah.
you
Like that
know? And
idea of you are enough, right? Like
yes.
you. I think you're totally onto something, and I actually think that we're entering into, or we're already in a time actually, maybe where being more successful than your parents were,
Yeah.
is. getting harder and harder and for like a certain class in this country, and it's the class that wants their kids to be, or trying to set their kids up for success in a way that's, more than they are, but it's getting harder because the costs are higher, the economy's in a different place, the job market is so unstable and unpredictable. It's getting harder for kids to envision themselves having a life that's different or better than their parents. And I think my kids have definitely expressed concern or fears about that. Like what will they be able to attain? What's reasonable to expect? And just the conditions were so different, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Things felt more attainable on a salary that was also more attainable. And
Yeah.
so the material part of things is becoming more difficult and frustrating, and compounded by this sense of constant comparison, like the
Yeah.
social media curation of people's lives. And we all know this story. You're only seeing, the best parts of people's
Yeah.
lives and highlighting those things. And so myself, I have, and I feel very blessed in my own circumstances, and yet I look online and it's like I'm not traveling enough, or I haven't been to this wonderful place, or my house doesn't look like that, or what have you. There's a million ways.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that sometimes when I'm on social media, I worry of my thought process, but I also worry for right generations, younger generations, because I don't know like how much we're looking at our own lives anymore, being and saying this is enough versus, oh God, I've never been to Brazil. I should probably put that on my bucket list because these five people have been to Brazil and look how great their lives seem. And I just was also thinking about like how everything at this point in time, and I think about it for my own life, is this form of being measurable versus being experienced. I mean, I remember a time way back when where you can just take a walk to take a walk, and now it's like you got to get your 10,000 steps in and your 20,000 steps. And I don't belittle that because I think that's important for people who have, health goals or whatnot. But the question I have is how much are we actually experiencing life and that being the definition of success versus comparing our lives or saying that this is what success is looks like. I have a lot of things. I can travel a lot. I can do, I have a high paying job. And those, until I don't get those, then I don't really have success. But then when I get those, there's somebody who has more. And are we in a constant state of actually misery when like life is actually right in front of us?
Yeah, I think you're so many things true.
Yes.
So the measurement part of things, I think, and our focus on data and statistics and health and that measurement piece, like having access to all of our information all the time, even to the point of like, I'll wake up in the morning and look at my sleep score to
Yeah.
decide how well I slept, as opposed to being like, I feel good today. And there have been
Totally.
times when I've woken up feeling okay and my score isn't great. And I'm like, wow, I guess I didn't sleep well.
Yeah.
Which, why? Like, what's the point of that? If I felt good, great.
Hmm.
And I also think of it as such a privileged place to be able to worry about those things, right? Like,
Hmm.
and then comes in the gratitude research, and the things that like we've had to say to people, and you and I both as coaches have done our research on the practice of gratitude and how that can change your brain. And yes, it's like, did we need a whole bunch of research to know that, or did our ancestors know this intuitively and
Hmm.
just look around them in a present state of mind and be like, this is good. I'm with the people I love. I have the things I have enough of the things that I need. And without that comparison, without that constant, grasping, were they better off, and in a more successful mindset, than a deficit mindset. Something that you taught me a long time ago, which I would love for you to talk about, is the scarcity mindset, because I like that. when you first taught me about that and what that does to your brain, it changed a lot of how I make decisions and how I look at my life. Do you want to just talk about that a
Yeah.
little?
I mean, right. I think when you feel scarce, it's at a lower level of your brain. It's not in the front of your brain where you're looking at everything and being like, there's a level of urgency. There's a level of like, I don't have this, and you're in constant. I think you're striving is when you're in that state. You're constantly being like, I should. You're not looking. You're looking through a lens of I don't have this, so therefore I can't be happy or
Yeah.
I can't live the life I wanted. And you're never actually, I think, when you have that scarcity mindset in the present.
Yeah.
I think you're always, even when you are, have like probably like abundance in front of you, if you can't see it that way, you you literally are at a deficit 24/7. And then like I do think that your brain starts to teach you don't look at anything and think like it's wonderful in this state of awe. You look at it as being like it would have been better if this was here, or it would have if I was scarce. It's like, oh, I would have really enjoyed this if I had the better outfit on, or if this person was there, or if I had this amount of money, this would have been even better if I could have stayed at this hotel versus, right, this idea of just like, no, it's as perfect. It is. When I was in Maine, we kept saying this to each other because things were just like working themselves out. And we kept saying this is as it should be, right? And I think about this posture of is success really going back to what you said, like that mindset piece, is success really looking at life and being like, right now, exactly the way that it it is this acceptance piece of just how it is. Not that you can't have goals and all of that, but is success just being able to say, like, I'm in my experience right now, just as it is, and and that's right, and that's the way that it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's would be something that it would be wonderful to strive for.
Yeah.
And, for that, and I again think it's a privilege. I think it's
Mhm.
a privilege to be able to even be in a posture of like, right now, I'm in a good place. And I think that it doesn't take a lot of money necessarily. It doesn't take a
Mhm.
lot of like perfect health. It doesn't take perfect, the way you look, your outward appearance or your family structure, your relationship structure. I've met so many people who are in a different place in their life in one aspect or another than I am,
Mhm.
who have a tremendous sense of pride and gratitude, and they feel successful in a way that I don't. And yet, conventionally speaking, maybe I should feel more like that than they do, and it's just not the case. And so I think that the idea of what you're saying is that there is no prerequisite for
Mhm.
success. There's no like criteria in which we can say, well, when you get here, you're going to feel a certain way. That I would love for those conditions to be there. Like I go to back to the beginning,
Yeah.
like I think that I know some things that would set my kids up or set the people up in my organization to be able to feel
Yeah.
happy and content, to be able to do the things they need to do. There's basic needs,
Yeah. That's
and
it.
we'd love everybody in the world to have enough to eat, to have a basic level of health care where they can feel like they're going to be covered, if they get sick, and
Yes.
to have the clothes that they need in order to function, and a phone so they can, get a job. And
Mhm.
those kinds of things are basic needs that, yes, all people need. And once you get to that point, you have those basic needs met, then you also have the ability to choose how you look at your life then too,
You
right?
make me think of, can I tell you the story of Mr. George Harris?
Yes, please.
I got my plane got delayed. This was a while back, and this gentleman, he had overalls, a cap on, and his suitcase. And he was going to visit his son, who was opening up a church in the city of Chicago. So we ended up talking. He asked me a question about his ticket, and we ended up talking for an hour and a half. And he told me about his life. He like mentored people. He was a truck driver for a really long time. Lost his wife, lost his daughter, and I asked him, right? Like, how did you make it through that suffering? As you can tell, like, well, when I meet people, I go right in and I go real deep. And he was like, and he talked about his faith, right? He talked about how that really got him through it and whatnot. And I ended up just adoring this man, like in this hour and a half. And so interesting, I looked at his suitcase, and his suitcase was one very similar to what we had when I was growing up, like let's say 1980s, 1990s, and it had no wheels. It was just one of those handle suitcases. And I had my roller bag, right? And I had this thought, and watch, I had this thought and I said, "Oh, I wish I could just go real quick and buy this man like a roller suitcase because like it would be so much easier for him and it would make life better." And then I was open enough in my soul to have a second thought and think, look at what I'm worried about, and he is not even paying attention to his suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm making an issue of something like, oh, but this could be better, right? Like you can have it easier. And he's actually experiencing life and not looking at that suitcase, whether it's good or not. He's not even paying attention to the suitcase. It is functioning to what he needs. And I have now made, not only have I made myself like, let me get you this, I have made an area of where there could be discontent where there wasn't, right? And it opened my horizon. And I, once in a while, when I'm like, oh, if I had this, I remind myself of Mr. George Harris because I remember like he didn't look at that suitcase and say, if only this, it would have made my experience better. He was just concentrating on the fact that he's going to get to see his son. And so I just think, what is success? Isn't it the idea of not looking at a suitcase or anything and being like, this isn't good enough?
I could
So
do better.
I could do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
and we've talked about too, to some degree, this podcast is a manifestation of our overthinking about
yeah,
what we could do better,
that's
and
right.
I think
That's right.
when we get together and we talk about our lives and how we're thinking about things, it is a gift to be able to process with someone else. And
Yes.
also, inevitably, we feel better because we walk into our lives with a gratitude about our lives, right? And kind of where we are in our lives and the fact that there's many, many opportunities for us and things like that. And
Mhm.
so I think that there is a gift in the overthinking, but there's also a gift in the underthinking,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
know?
Oh, that's so
And
good. That's so good. Yeah.
right? Because there is not there is enough at some point. There is enough. I think that kids right now, not even kids, people, just
Mhm.
in the sense of like, you and I are both single, being out on a dating app or something like that, where there's endless choices, right? You hear from many people like it's just very easy to keep swiping and looking for someone better,
Mhm.
different, who has all the qualities and characteristics. And when the reality is there's probably somebody that's good enough, that's going to be a good
Yes.
enough companion that will challenge us in ways and be helpful in certain ways,
Yeah.
and somebody that we can be happy with. That is, what do we even? The definition of perfect just keeps changing.
That's
When
right.
you
Oh,
don't
that's
define for yourself, separate from the choices that you have, what
mhm.
is good enough. I heard that story about wedding dresses that really illustrated it well for me, of two different brides that were looking for their wedding dress.
Yeah.
One had a criteria list of about 30 things that she wanted. The other
Uh-huh.
one was just kind of looking and trying on and trying on.
Yeah.
And the one that had the criteria list, it was like, all right, this one checks all the boxes. I'm done. This is the dress. The other one was shopping until the very last minute and then still wasn't happy because there's more dresses to try on. There's more and better out there. There's other stores, there's other states, there's other countries you could go. There's people who would dream up a dress from their own brain that
Yeah.
you might not have even seen, that isn't even on the
Kill
rack.
you. It could kill you. Like
It
all of
could
that
kill
could
you.
kill you. Yeah. That kind of continuation of like, but what if this and what if that? And there versus being like, this is just right. And I wonder if our brains are moving too fast with all of that. And then once you buy something, something better is like, I should have done that versus living, just like do we know how to live our lives? Like, have we forgotten how to live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both of us just went through an experience with revisiting your values that
Hmm.
I think is a good place to start.
Yes, I agree.
Like what is it like what is it that mean because success doesn't mean the same thing for everyone.
No,
Like I think we all need to continue to revisit what does success mean to me right
that's
now at this point in my life. And if most of those things are met, then just taking a moment and or more than a moment to be like, all right, I'm in a good spot.
That's it. Yes, exactly. I think attaching it to the values is definitely because it will be different for everyone, and there's no shame in that. Thanks for exploring this topic with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
I'm still brewing on it, so I might bring it
Yeah, I'm
back.
glad you had a good trip to Maine. Next time I want to go too. So,
Absolutely, it was
yeah.
wonderful, and I didn't meet any bears. Yogi was not there, so
Yay! Listen, we're grateful for you guys that are here with us, kind of watching our videos and thinking through things with us. Overthinking with you is a gift. Make sure you send your thoughts or questions so that we can dive into those topics too. But until then, we're going to give ourselves some grace and we're going to close all the tabs in our head and say, see you next time.
bye, everyone.
Bye.